Call the meeting to order. I'd like to welcome everybody to the Ballston Town Board meeting for the month of April. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item of business this evening will be correspondence, and the clerk has one item for correspondence.
This is from the Department of Transportation regarding the speed limit reductions on Outlet Road and Kingsbury Road, Town of Ballston, Saratoga County. This is in response to your October 22nd, 2018 request to this office for speed limit reductions on Outlet Road and Kingsbury Road in the Town of Ballston. Outlet Road between Route 50 and Lake Road is governed by a 45-mile-per-hour speed limit that was established by this office in 1991. The road was reviewed in 1985 and in 2009 and determined that those times that a reduction of the speed limit was not warranted at that time. In response to your most recent request, we again conducted a speed limit investigation of Outlet Road. We maintained the position that the existing 45-mile-per-hour speed limit is appropriate for conditions experienced through this corridor. Included in our investigation, we took radar measurements of operating speeds within the speed limit. Our data indicated that 52% of motorists were exceeding this posted 45-mile-per-hour speed limit, with the highest recorded speed being 58 miles per hour. Under these conditions, we recommend enforcement of the existing speed limit rather than the reduction of the regulatory speed limit. By way of this letter, we will notify the state police and the Saratoga County Sheriff of our findings for whatever action they may deem appropriate. Kingsbury Road between Council Lane and Kingsley Road is part of an existing area 30-mile-per-hour speed limit established by the office in 1991. In accordance with the New York State Vehicle and Traffic Law, 30 miles per hour is the lowest area speed limit that may be established. We do not propose any changes to the existing speed limit at this time. And it's from Mark Spivito, he's a regional traffic engineer in New York State.
Okay, thanks. Next up, we have a presentation from our town historian, Rick Reynolds. And he's going to tell you all about the 1780-2020 Radon Ballston Committee. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you, Jim. October 16th, 1780, is a major historical event in this community. And that was the day the British invaded the town of Ballston. Why did they invade Ballston? Because we were the hotbed of rebellion. And they wanted to get rid of all those rebels who were causing all kinds of trouble for them across this area. So they invaded. It was bloody, it was miserable, it was a very tough fight. There were people taken hostage, there were people killed, and there were a lot of people who left the area never to return again. Some of those people escaped, were captured and taken to Canada. They were kept captive for 2 years until, after numerous attempts to escape, they dug a tunnel under the stockade fence that they had built to get themselves out of captivity. That's in 1780 that they were doing that. In 1980, we celebrated the 200th anniversary of the raid on Ballston. We did a small-scale reenactment of the event. In 2020, we'd like to do a large-scale reenactment of this event. We're hoping to bring in 100 to 150 reenactors. Venue to be determined. We will reenact the battle in as much detail as we can. We will also establish camps so that kids and adults alike can visit the camps and see what it was like during the 1780s, during the time of the American Revolution. Tonight, what I'm asking of you is to create a committee so that we can continue to study this matter and come up with some proposals and come up with specific ideas as how we want to do this. The committee itself consists of a number of different people, most of whom are pretty high power. We're planning on co-sponsoring this event with Brookside Museum. The director of Brookside Museum, Michelle Arthur, will be on the committee. Ann Clothier, who is the education director, will also be on the committee. Jim Richmond, who wrote a book on this event, will be on the committee, as well as 2 actual reenactors, and Karen James, who is the Milton historian, because this event occurred in Milton as well as Ballston. So tonight, what I'm asking of you is to establish this committee with these people on it. At a later date, I may come back to you with requests for support and/or funding. But at this point, all I really need is to establish a committee so we can begin working on this. Any questions?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, really appreciate your, enthusiasm for this project here. I think it's gonna be great for our township. And not only that, all the, work you do, being our town historian 30 years, so greatly appreciate that.
Thank you.
Anybody have anything else? Rick?
What character are you gonna play, Rick?
Haven't decided yet.
Okay.
Maybe we could go into consultation.
Yes, I think we should.
I got a good role for you too.
I also have some rebels to suggest if you need some rebels,
I'm sure.
Yeah, thank you for that. I think the last time we got together was for the anniversary. It was a great town event, and I look forward to that. So it sounds like fun.
Ballston 225 in 2013 drew over 1,000 people.
Right.
I'm hoping this is going to draw even more than that.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Yeah, sounds good.
That'd be great.
Ms. Reynolds, you want anybody in the school systems? You want to get the school, Ballston Spa and Burn Hills?
We have talked about involving the schools. This will be a 3-day event, October 16, 17, 18, and we will probably be coming to you and people in Ballston Spa to talk about what we can do to encourage people in the schools to come to this event, including all of the kids who are here tonight.
So, yeah.
Okay. Thanks, appreciate it. Okay, as far as reports, town clerk, dog control, highway, building department are all on file. And the library, we'll start with them.
The library's carpet damaged by the January flood has now been replaced, and we are all happy to have the reading room back in use. The Burnt Hills Ballston Lake Student Art Reception takes place this Saturday, April 13th from 11 to 1. The art is now on display in the community room of the library. The indoor book drop in the vestibule has now been removed. Library materials can be returned inside the library during all open hours or at the drive-up book return in the rear of the library building 24/7. So that is open when the library is open also. 3 of the library's rooftop HVAC units will be replaced on April 17th. The rear library parking lot exit will be closed while the train removes and installs units. So all library materials should be brought inside the library that day while that work is taking place. So the book drop will be off limits. And that work is funded by a SAM grant the library received from New York State in 2016. And save the date, the library will celebrate the beginning of summer reading 2019 with a kickoff party in Jenkins Park on Monday, June 24th at 4:30 p.m. Music, crafts, ice cream, a photo booth, therapy dogs, and other activities will be offered. And one last thing that I hadn't already written on the report is that the town of Ballston Library has joined the Southern Saratoga Chamber of Commerce. And I forgot to put that on there, but I attended the business mixer after hours at their last mixer and accepted the library's membership plaque, which we'll put up in the library. And that entitles us to put our library events on the calendar for the region, as well as attend networking events, which puts us in touch with other education and business organizations who we may be able to partner with.
Sounds great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Pierce, Leah.
No, this is Leah.
Leah.
The town water shed management
Okay,
protection committee.
There are a lot of people in town that have probably not been involved with the data and the information that we have that goes back at least 5-6 years that we've been talking about in relationship to the watershed of Ballston Lake, which extends from Good Street, East Line Road, from Outlet Road, south to the over the Clifton Park line, down Main Street on the way toward Clifton Park. I'm going to give you a little bit of data here, and this is for those of us, or those of you that have been coming to meetings for the last 6 or 7 years. This might be old, but there are probably some people here who don't know any of this. In 2001, the Capital District Regional Planning Commission published a report, and I quote on page 17, the Ballston Lake watershed has only a small amount of soil that is suitable for septic systems. On page 19, I quote, a large segment of the structures along the lake were constructed before 1960, giving that the area's soils and dated construction is likely that there are a number of underperforming septic systems along the lake. Buell Heights, near the southern end of Ballston Lake, is also a concern. Its homes were constructed on small lots prior to the mid-1950s. There are reports that septic odors in the area are noticeable in the spring. Page 7 in the executive summary, existing inadequate septic systems appear to be a major threat to water quality. Older, failing systems along the lake and the subdivisions are providing excess nutrients to the lake and encouraging unnatural levels of algae and weed growth. Belia has been collecting water samples from Ballston Lake since 1991. Phosphorus levels of the lake were fairly stable until the year 2000.
Not doing a very good job, Vanna, you know? I'm just kidding.
The phosphorus levels started to increase until 2010. You can see the upward slope here, and then continues on upper slope till where they reached 38 micrograms per liter. This increased phosphorus indicates that the lake can no longer sequester the phosphorus input to the lake and is subject to it. At this time, the phosphorus levels have reached 42 micrograms per liter. So that's more than doubled in from 2000 to 2019. Thank you, Wes. I got another one for you in a second. In 2012, DEC placed Ballston Lake on a 303 list of impaired water bodies, requiring some sort of mitigation. So it's asking the town to do something about this. Listed sources of impairment in this report were stormwater erosion, urban development, and failing septic systems. Between 2013 and 2015, I collected groundwater samples from the streams and culverts in the watershed and had them analyzed by Darren Freshwater Institute, which is an arm of RPI, and they're located up at Golden Landing in Lake George. And they analyzed the water samples for fecal coliform, which is a septic effluent. Values above 200 colonies per 100 milliliters is above the New York State Department of Health standards. Over 100 water samples were collected. The highest reading from the Buell Heights area was above 5,000 micrograms per liter. The Buell Heights area is the area in red. Okay. And with all the Buell Heights samples, the average was over 420 micrograms per liter. The average reading from the samples collected on the Sweet Road stream, I don't know if any of you drive Sweet Road, there's a stream that comes down through the woods near Sweet Road, comes under Sweet Road, comes under Lake Road, and then empties of the lake. The average reading from these samples collected on all the samples on the Sweet Road stream was 619 micrograms per liter. So the Sweet Road stream is the first thing. Thank you. In 2014, the New York State Legislature passed a law designated Ballston Lake as an inland waterway. The Inland Waterway Program seeks to encourage the beneficial use, revitalization, and protection of the community's water resources. In 2017, DEC Harmful Algae Bloom Supervisor, which is located at SUNY Environmental Health Science out in Syracuse, sent the town of Ballston an alert confirming the presence of cyanobacteria, harmful algae bloom in Ballston Lake with a chlorophyll A level of 3,517 micrograms per liter, which is above the DEC threshold of 25. That summer, in 2017, we posted signs around the lake warning everybody of the harmful algae blooms. We put messages out on email and in the paper and telling people what to do and not to go in an area of the lake where they see the bright green water. Last summer, we did not have a harmful algae bloom, but the potential's there. In conclusion, the septic system problem in the town is a Board of Health issue. Too much fecal coliform in the groundwater has a potential to affect well water. Some Ballston Lake residents draw their drinking water directly from Ballston Lake. Pathogens are the bacteria and viruses that cause disease. They usually come from fecal material from humans and their pets. Major sources of pathogens include failing septic systems, concentration of animal waste from pets and farm animals. The effluent from problematic septic systems is a significant cause for the increased phosphorus in the lake. However, the phosphorus increase is just an indication of a larger problem. What to do about failing septic systems. So the phosphorus in the lake is the canary in the tunnel. You know, there's a bigger problem upstream, and like I said, since I'm on the town watershed protection and management plan committee, we're very concerned about how the water, the groundwater, throughout the whole watershed is managed for the benefit of everybody.
Thank you.
I'll send you an electronic copy, Carol.
Okay, thanks, appreciate that. We'll go to financial report from Jeanette.
I don't have anything to say regarding the March financials, which are in your hands. I did update it for the mortgage, March mortgage taxes that they come through.
Okay.
I did want to give you some feedback. We had the IT proposal come in last agenda meeting. I did speak with Bob Priest from Kincaid Solutions yesterday, and he said two things. One is having to do a 24-month contract, number one, and number two, during that contract period, if at any time the town feels that they are not delivering the services that are written in the contract, we can get out of the contract.
That's excellent to have an opt-out clause.
So, I did want to give you that feedback, so the board hopefully can make a decision on IT third-party service provider. Also, we had Kincaid Solutions come in, they did it gratis this morning, and they helped us pull off some data from Enhanced Business Systems, because Enhanced has refused to provide us support anymore, because we are going to go with a different service provider, and they helped us pull the party accounts and some data. I'll be getting that back to Hydro Tech and have them review it and see if it's what we need to get going on the initial start of our software conversion.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, Jeanette. So there's a motion to move the financial report forward, 19-57.
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Goslin, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Councilman Toski, further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. Supervisor's report. I have various items to report out on since the last meeting. Actually, took some time and went up and met the new Ballston Spa Village mayor, Larry Woolbright. Great guy, looking at making some good changes up in the village. After a long time, Mayor Romano. And we discussed, various town operations. We talked about the finances, the budget process, just to give them an overview of, how our town operates, and maybe, some future, potential thoughts on, shared agreements, shared services between here and the village. So more to come on that. Talking about Mayor Romano, and long service mayor up at the village. I'll be attending a retirement party on April 18th. And I'd like to thank the town clerk's office, actually getting a plaque for the mayor on behalf of the Ballston Town Board, Ballston residents, to honor Mayor Romano at that event. He's worked very well with the town here for years, so it's well deserved. Well, last night I actually gave a presentation to the Rotary Club here, right here at Town Hall. Gave them an overview, the state of the town address is what I presented to them. And that was very well received, and they had a lot of really good questions, so I thought that was a great event. This Saturday, I'll be attending the Ballston Lake Fire Department banquet to swear in the fire officers for this year. Again, this Saturday evening, and a lot of activity going on in the fire department arena. I'll also be attending the Union Fire Company Old Timers Banquet at the end of April, supporting them. And I also took the time and toured the North Fire Station that we talked about of a potential sheriff's substation down the road here, and met with 2 fire commissioners and toured that. It was actually, the structure is really outstanding. Really, it could hold 2 sheriff cars in there, and so they're pretty excited about getting, making a deal here with the township for that. So still going to be talking with Sheriff Zerlo, as I previously stated, on what that will entail, financially. But he was pretty excited about that. So I just wanted to pass that on. And last but definitely not least, before I came to the meeting here today, got a report of a very disturbing situation in our township on Route 50, across from the Girls Fight building in the old CVS. I have a photo here. Anybody can take a look at it here later on if they like, but it's a photo of needles, okay? The actual needles for heroin. What's that? Yeah, hypodermic, yeah. You tell I'm not a druggie. But anyway, there was there were several needles there on the side of the road, right across the street from Girl Fight, with a spoon too. I guess they got to heat up their heroin so they can shoot it up. And I'll tell you, you think that we've talked about this before about the heroin epidemic, and it is just rampant. It's everywhere. And it's of all different classes of folks. And you think that, oh, my kids will never do that, or my mom or my dad will never do that. I'll tell you, you really should think twice about that. There's a lot of education out there. Matter of fact, we're going to have another forum. We're coordinating that with Sheriff Zerlo, so stay tuned for that. Again, it's real important here, right here in our own, quaint town of Burnt Hills, and you see this photo that was sent to me today, and you would never expect that. And you think about the schools, right? There's schools all around right there, within walking distance. So reached out to the state police had taken care of the situation, and I personally discussed this with Sheriff Zerlo today. I was at a public safety meeting, and had a talk with him after that, and he's going to, he has a plan of action. Can't get into what that is, but it's going to, trust me, it's going to be well taken care of by our Sheriff's Department in that area. So I guess there's a lot of drug activity and, a lot of drug dealing going on in that vicinity. So that's the first I've heard of that. But again, I just wanted to inform everybody, public safety is first and foremost, and all the appropriate actions are being taken by our local law enforcement officials, so greatly appreciated. So at this time, what I'll do is move on to the council members' reports. We'll start off with Councilman Curtis.
Yeah, just a couple of quick things. Well, as you see in the resolution, we have hired I interviewed a gentleman last week for the buildings and grounds maintenance position here. Hopefully we'll push that forward with this resolution tonight. And just going a little bit forward here into the agenda, but I just wanted to speak briefly about Fireman's Grove for a minute. I interviewed another gentleman over there for the maintenance position there. There's a lot of work to do. And as we walked around, we could see a lot of things going on. Some trees need to be trimmed out. The dead branches way up in those maples. There's a lot of stuff going on there, and it's nice to get excited about owning this, but let's not book anything for a while. We got a lot to do there. So, that's just my observation of that as far as the maintenance.
Working process.
It's a working process.
Yeah.
And that's all I have.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. Yeah, I appreciate you taking care of that with the hiring the maintenance.
Yeah, the
control.
gentleman that I hired for this position here at the buildings and grounds, he's ready to start, I can contact him in the morning, and he'll be able to do paperwork. As we can see, it all needs some work.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But
And then,
got a
just
couple
make
of
sure,
vacant days here without anyone.
yeah, make sure he sees Joanne as far as the filling out the appropriate paperwork
Right.
at the county too, so,
Right,
notorious pink sheet, so.
okay,
Okay,
that's all
thanks.
I got.
We'll continue in that same subject while we're on it. I was at Fireman's Grove last night, and it looks like I don't know if they were back there today,
Yeah, they
I know
were.
it's in rain, but I walked it with Brian Cooper, who is a local scout leader, who has a troop that's planning to do some cleanup there on Ballston, during Ballston Cleanup Day. He's got a bunch of scouts, so they're gonna just start with some raking and picking up sticks and generally kind of cleaning up the area around, because by the time of cleanup day, the construction project, at least the pavilion project, the floor will be done, and the equipment will be out of there, so they can do that. They asked if it was possible for them to have an overnight camp there when they do their cleanup. And I said I would bring it to the board. I know that's been done before in the past. I didn't see an issue with it, so I just wanted to kind
Well,
of
I
bring that to
think
the
that
board's
would-
attention.
I think that would hinge greatly on whether the restrooms are ready.
We have to
You're
turn the
talking
water
about-
on, right, Brian?
And, yeah, just before, that's all.
Last I heard, the restrooms were usable, so, and they're Cub Scouts.
Okay.
Just an overnight.
Much trees there.
So, but they're excited, the scouts are excited, the fire company was their sponsor, the fire district was their sponsor, and so every troop has to have that element, and one of the things that they had done for years was clean up and help maintain Fireman's Grove for the fire district. So we talked about kind of staying with that as their kind of community service area. Would be the Grove. We looked at the flagpole, could use some replacing. There's currently not a flag on it. It's pretty dilapidated, so talked about getting a new flagpole in there and other projects. But the first project they're going to do is basic, just grounds cleanup, leaves, twigs, sticks, all that kind of thing. And they're well supervised. The scouts are. They're leaders, they're adults and very conscientious. So I thought I'd bring that to the board. In terms of, we got an estimate from Apollo, who does the lawns at Jenkins Park. And sorry, my brain is not, got some issues. And so we got a decent quote from them. I don't know who you've talked to about maintenance or what it is the park maintenance person would do, but if they don't have a large deck mower of their own, because the town doesn't have one for park use.
To my, according to what I got, there is in the budget, my understanding, for a zero-turn mower. It is in the budget for a zero-turn mower for Farmers Grove.
Okay, I hadn't realized that, but this is
Priced out?
it's
No, priced out.
a very large field.
Yeah.
And if you mow it once a week through the summer, it's not like a lawnmower, and you can't use a lawnmower to do this. We're talking an industrial, right, Brian? Am I wrong about this?
I guess if you keep it low.
Field.
Right now,
So we have a quote that seemed reasonable from Apollo, which I wanted to get approved tonight. They can start if the town eventually purchases a piece of equipment which is sufficient to keep it mowed and usable. That's one thing, but we haven't done that yet, and it's almost the middle of April, so if we want to be able to have that field usable, we have to contract to have it in the ruts, you know, they'll replace the ruts and reseed the area that's, you know, was damaged by the takedown of the pavilion and stuff, so.
Yeah, just to elaborate on that for a second too, Kelly, there are tons of ruts and tracks.
Okay.
And I know that's difficult with the four-wheelers, how to keep them out. I mean, there's some fresh tracks, I mean, ruts burned into the sand, some older ruts in the sod. I mean, it's soft ground anyway, so, you know, obviously, it's gonna be difficult keeping people out of there with these. We can put signs up all over the place, maybe that's something we'll have to do, along with pick up after your path, you know, and that kind of stuff, but this might be a bit of a challenge, just keeping the four-wheelers out of there, because they're having much fun in there, and there are a ton of ruts. And as far as mowing this, yeah, you might better be there with a brush hog, because you're not gonna get lawnmower in there for a while.
I talked to Zapalo, and they went in and examined what needed to be done. There's, you know, part of the quote includes filling the ruts,
Yeah.
and reseeding the area needs to be reseeded, and who's got the mower that needs to do it. It's not like I can take my, you know.
Now,
my
you
lawn
can get a
mower.
nice zero-turn, 60-inch mower and really get it done, something like really fast, but we have to get the surface down so we can do it.
Well, the board can.
We gotta figure that
Yeah,
out.
you've got a,
But we have a quote from Zapalo, and if we want to act on that, that would be my recommendation.
I think this year you need to do the, contract it out. I've worked with the folks at Jenkins Park. He treats the yard like it's his own, and he's there helping you on volunteer day and things like that. We couldn't pay the operator of that equipment for the money he's charging us to mow that for a week.
No, that's pretty reasonable fee.
Yeah, it is, and then you talk about mower, maintenance, gas, getting it there, storing it, you know, I think we can grow into this, but there's a reason that this guy mows Jenkins Park and has for a long time, because it's economical and he does a great job, and we can't do it for that. All you need to do is look at the cost of Rita Park maintenance versus what this guy charges, and that'll give you an idea of what it costs us to mow it as opposed to hire it out.
So that was my recommendation on that. The other thing was the Saratoga Mustangs Rugby Club has for years done their April practices. They have another facility that doesn't open until May. So they've held their April practices there for years with the fireman's blessing. The firemen in the last few years have not charged them a fee to use this. I talked to him today. I said I would bring their request to the board. They'd like to start using it this week, if possible. They have an insurance policy that the gentleman will provide to me, indemnifies the town and hold us harmless. And they also, they talked about perhaps as a donation to the town for the park in lieu of remuneration for using. They're talking about using it a couple of times a week for a few weeks. So the board can talk about whether you want to charge them a fee, or maybe see if they, you know, if the city invites or something that you'd like to take in exchange for. And this year, at some point, if the field is in condition that a lot of local sports groups might want to use it, then we might have to talk about how we manage that. But the condition that the field's in right now, it's not really usable for a lot of different groups. Or anyone maybe besides the rugby club. And they've used it for years. I personally don't see a reason to deny them the use of it if they have the insurance and, you know, we're not doing anything with it. So I bring that for your request, and I just need to get back to him and let him know the circumstances there. There's mowing, the kiosk in Anchor Diamond is almost finished. We're just putting the finishing touches on the rest of the panels. There's a geocaching event there on the 27th, which we're working with the organizers because there's also the treatment for the hemlocks, for the pest that has infected them. So we may just close the one trail. If they don't treat it until the first week in May, then we're okay with geocaching. We may just have them limited to anything except the Hemlock Trail. But we're working with the organizers on that, Mr. Parker. And that's pretty much it.
Okay. Thanks, Gil. Councilman Antosky.
I have a rendition here. It's concerning a bus stop enclosure that is actually I believe it's a Girl Scout that is this ambition to create a bus stop enclosure down at the Four Corners where the Rotary have already installed a bench. I emailed building inspector a while back as far as if there's some need for a permit to build that. He mentioned liability as far as, is that a town liability? The last 2 years ago, I was in touch with CDTA, who at that point said, if people want to put them up, they're fine, but they don't plan on paying for any of it. Unless it's, the CDTA has the numbers to prove that it requires one. And they said at that point 2 years ago, like the McDonald's 150 would be the only one that was even close as far as in the need for an enclosure. So I've informed that Brownie Girl Scout student that probably the best bet is to get a hold of CDTA to make sure that that happens. Also to bring up as far as our liability, the maintenance, which is down the road. I didn't think of that either. But that's her plan, which is metal, so there's not a lot of maintenance. But that would be her beginning point. She mentions in an email about fundraising, so I just wanted to share that with the board to digest and take a look if that's something we want to move forward with, or is it something we want to stay out of as a municipality?
As far as the insurance portion there, I recommend that we reach out to, David Meager, our agent for that. I'm not sure how that works out, being on a state road. So.
Right. I mean, just as a general, just a feeling at this point, is this something that we would be interested in getting involved in, or is this something that the board feels is not something?
I think just get done with the Ballston winter and say shelter is a good thing. So I'm in favor of that, especially for these people that you see sitting out there.
And we've got some issues there too, some reports over the winter time, some seniors, waiting for the bus, out on an area, the sidewalk wasn't shoveled in that area, right in front of Stewart, so that definitely, this would be addressing improvement.
Would, as far as that rotary bench that's there now, was that something the Rotary just did, or?
I couldn't find anything on it, so
All right.
I think we did.
Because that, again, is something they've done that I'm just wondering as far as.
And then just whose properties,
Correct. Because I think that's where she's thinking is around that bench.
It's probably in the right of way, I would think.
Yeah.
right?
So, you gotta make, that's, the state, so you gotta make sure that's okay.
So we'll have to have a legal review of that too, right, because there's a lot of questions there, right, with that.
Is there a concrete pad there now?
There is currently. It's not as big as what she's got
She's
planned.
proposing to
She's-
enlarge
I
it?
think that based on that picture, it would be kind of encapsulate that bench, which is right there. I guess that's in front of Mama's, to the side of it. So, it is. And I don't think that, it's not like she's in a huge rush because she's talking about fundraising, so, I mean, that would be involved, but something to chew on for us. And then, I will see, I got an email back from Jeanette as far as the sidewalk grant. In order for them to continue with that information, needed a document saying that the town would have at least $4,700 available for in case the project, because that would exceed the project's grant. So to have that available, I guess, according to Jeanette, she was saying the best thing would be to pass a motion saying that we could set aside not to exceed $5,000 to have in case it goes over the price.
So my recommendation with that is, you know, to me, that's a no-brainer, right? So why don't we add a resolution, here this evening?
That-
that we
That's
can-
what I would hope.
Can I recommend a different dollar amount than 5,000? Because that's only an estimate, you have to put an RFP.
Well, then I got thinking, should I even mention the estimate, because if people are, if the numbers are there, if everybody already knows what the grant is, and then our estimates, anybody coming in for a bid probably is gonna keep it at a higher level. So my point, I guess, is I'd like the lowest numbers coming in. I don't think that we would, I don't, we could exceed. To me, it seems like, I think it was $4,700 above what the grant was. And that's not including if we got another grant, we could take that, part of that grant and, so, I mean, we could say 10,000, I suppose. I don't think we're gonna need any.
I'm just thinking of the cost of, we're gonna have to hire somebody to do RFP and the bid process, et cetera,
Right.
et cetera, so.
At this
I think
point-
that was part of the estimate.
Okay, then
I'll re-examine the,
the other option
Right.
is do your 5,000 now, and if it doesn't work out, you know,
right,
another one down the road, but it is coming, just to be clear, from fund balance.
Correct.
So you want to, we'll add that?
yeah, we can add that motion, like, yeah,
Yeah, okay. All right, is that it?
that is it.
Okay, thanks. Councilman Goslin.
I just have a couple of things here. One is that I fully support the use of Fireman's Grove, and I think that we should also try to honor any of the traditions that the fire department had. There's a lot of traditions associated with that. When you mentioned Fireman's Grove, the history of that is quite rich. So anything we can do, and I know that we've talked as a board about how we improve things there, and we don't want to borrow money to do it, but we do want to gradually improve it. So I think honoring the traditions that the fire department had while creating a few of our own new ones. You guys haven't been by Fireman's Grove, the pavilion is drop dead gorgeous, and with a concrete floor in there, it's going to be a great place for the community to meet. This weekend I will be working on a fence between Davy's Junkyard and the neighbors up there on McKenna Court. We've talked with both of them. Everybody's going to pitch in a little money, and we're going to build a little fence. This was a situation where a new development came in, and the existing grandfathered in junkyard was there, and you know, they all came before the town, and we just sat down with everybody, and you know what they say, good fences build good neighbors. We're going to have a good fence there, and we're going to have good neighbors. So I want you to know that anybody who wants to dig post holes on Round Lake Road, more than welcome to join in Saturday morning. This weekend I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Rossi, and he informed me that they're breaking ground for Hannaford in the town of Ballston. This is something, we're talking grocery store, as long as I've been on this board, and I'll tell you, it's very exciting. He quoted me a figure of 16 years he's been at it, and so I would like to just make sure that that's part of the minutes, and I think it's a very important piece of development for our town, is to have a grocery store where the residents of the community can go and maybe meet a neighbor while they shop and not have to go someplace else. That's also in Saratoga County, and every dollar you spend at Hannaford finds its way back to the town government here, where we have no town tax and no highway tax. So I'd just like to mention that, and thank you guys for your efforts. I know that it's been a long struggle, and we're excited about that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
So, you know, just to add on to that, you know, and Councilman, you're exactly right. I mean, it's been a lot of years of been hearing that, right? The town residents wanted a grocery store. You know, they lost two, you know, the Grand Union, the north end and the south end, right? So, it's been quite a while. And talking to the seniors, you know, like you had said, they're really looking forward to that because they're not gonna have to go far to get their groceries. So, again, I'd also like to commend the Rossi family for for helping make that happen, so we greatly appreciate it. And Councilman Goslin, I think you forgot one item there, I'd like to commend you, 14 Wendy Lane, picking up the trash. Goslin's rubbish removal was in full force and took care of that issue that's been going on for some time now. And Bill took the initiative and actually went and cleaned that up, so.
Yeah, I'd like to just, we don't need to spend a lot of time on that, but this was a situation where the individual did not have the money to remove the stuff himself, and I know that we've talked about cleanup, the LEA and the BPA have their event in early May. I know the townwide rubbish removal, could have waited just for that, I would have picked it up.
Yeah, that's it.
The townwide rubbish removal, but I would just ask that everybody, if they can notify the town or notify myself or notify anybody, if you find a situation that can make our town look a little better, please do so, and let's help our neighbors. I'm a neighbor of this person, I live kitty corner, and let's help our neighbors, let's clean up the town. We all live here, and a little bit of work goes a long way, so thank you.
Talking about cleanup, May 4th is the date, the town-wide cleanup day, where everybody goes and picks up the roadside litters and park litter and so forth. So actually, you'll see there's a resolution here tonight authorizing a town truck for that, to support that, as we always do. So really appreciate everybody's volunteer support for that endeavor, making our community cleaner, as Councilman had said. And another thing, he had mentioned, just kind of down the road here, but not, it'll be here before you know it, the town-wide household trash, you can start putting that out June 9th. Okay, no earlier than that, and county waste will be through to pick up all the household trash. So I know that's always it's a major project, big endeavor, and the community really appreciates that. So we're having that this year. So just wanted to give you that date.
Is that they're gonna pick up on the 9th, or?
No, you put your items out starting June 9th.
When's that on?
So,
Oh, okay. So that week, the following week, that's, like, I'm assuming the 10th, then
Yeah.
they'll start picking up.
Yep.
That's usually the 10th.
Right.
Are they gonna pick up past that week, or just 1 week?
I don't know, usually it's one go around, but they have to go back.
So there isn't descriptive of what they'll pick up and not pick up.
Well, that's it, there's all this, yeah. And that's gonna be in our Ballston bulletin, so, on that. The next thing I want to talk about here, and just give an introduction before I turn it over to our town attorney, Deb Callen. And it's, I know some folks are here this evening about the Dolomite plant operating. We received and I see Ms. Bramer here this evening, appreciate you coming. And we received a document here with some concerns, okay, about the Dolomite asphalt plant. So I just wanted to, say that we're here, we hear the concerns raised by, the citizens for a clean environment, loud and clear. Curtis Industrial Park was zoned to allow the Dolomite asphalt plant and other business to operate safely and effectively while bringing important tax revenue and jobs to the town. The town has been in contact with Dolomite, a lot of you may not know that, to ensure that they've addressed all the terms of the agreement reached last June. So we actually, and Deb will talk about this next here, actually met with Dolomite folks, and they do want to do their due diligence on what they're required to do. So with that, with every item here that is in this document, Deb is going to address each and every one. What we don't want to do, we're not going to get into a two-way dialogue here. If you have comments on that, that'll be at the end of the meeting for privilege of the floor. But for right now, I just want to make sure that everything was covered with all the issues that have been forward it to us. So, Annette, no, Deb.
Thank you. Yes, on March 27th, the Bramer Law Firm sent to town board members a letter setting forth a number of items of concern with regard to the beginning of the operations of the Dolomite plant. And that letter is on file. Each of the town board members received a copy, as well as the town attorney. And I've had the opportunity to talk to Claudia. We've exchanged emails. We sat down on one occasion and have provided her with, we're all abiding by the seeker finding statement that's dated May 20th, 2016, which was approved by our planning board, setting forth the conditions of the operation. Additionally, last June, as a result of litigation, there was a consent order entered into between Dolomite and the town of Ballston, which modified certain conditions of that seeker finding statement. So what I'd like to, and that, Claudia, you have been provided with that consent order, so you're certainly aware of that. So what I'd like to do is take your letter that you sent to the town board and address each of the concerns as we go along, okay? So first of all, you raised the issue of regular weekend hours, and regular weekend hours are not allowed, period, okay? Dolomite has been reminded of this, that it is a condition, and what are called occasional additional hours, which are defined as 10 to 15% of the time, equating to 1 to 2 days during a 2-week period, are allowed. They are granted, however, a procedure must be followed. And this procedure includes advance permission from the town building department, along with a submission by Dolomite of nuisance reports. Our recent discussions with Dolomite confirm that they will submit monthly reports. The finding statement was not clear as to how often these would occur. We've narrowed it down that they're going to file these on a monthly basis. Consecutive Saturdays within a 2-week period are not allowed. Only one request per month can be made for these occasional additional hours for the operation of the plant. Second, the consent order did modify the finding statement with regard to the plant's operating hours. Employees can arrive at 5 a.m. and plant operations can begin at 6. This is a 1-hour deviation from what was set forth in the seeker findings. No changes were made regarding when the last truck is to be loaded. That's to be approximately 4 p.m. and employees are to leave by 5 p.m. unless, it's part of that additional occasional hours. Third, the consent order did modify Route 67 improvements. That was a condition. The left turning lane must be installed by April 30th, 2019. Otherwise, Dolomite cannot operate beyond April 30th, 2019. Fourth, the Zim Smith Trail crossing signage and beacons. Quite a mouthful there. This is tied to the approvals from the Department of Transportation with regard to the Route 67 turning lane. We have been informed, although I have nothing in writing, but we have been informed that will be completed as part of the left turning lane, and they must abide by that April 30th, 2019 deadline. Fifth, the secondary access road being required. CT Mail was provided with documentation by an engineer whose name unfortunately escapes me right now, but indicating that the access road from East Line Road is acceptable and sufficient to meet the secondary access road requirement. I have a letter, and Claudia, this response will go to you in a formal letter I will attach the letter from the engineering firm, which indicates the satisfaction, and also CT Mail's indication of their satisfaction with it. 6, asphalt production records must be provided. As a result of our meeting with Dolomite, these will be provided to the town on a monthly basis, since the seeker findings do limit the production for the plant. 7, Dolomite hoppers are equipment. Dolomite requested a determination before they opened by the town's building department whether certain portable hoppers were considered equipment or structure. After a careful review of the sketches, in consultation with the zoning and planning attorney at the time, Peter Riley, a determination was made that the hoppers were equipment, they were portable, and not subject to the maximum height requirements under the code. Noise impact study. The town is requiring Dolomite to complete both a noise and odor study, which shall be completed within 60 days of when operations begin. To require a study to be done 60 days after October 6, 2018 would result in no noise and no odor. Hence, we are requiring that once operations start this season, so we can get a good read on what the noise and odor indications are. Depending on the results of that study, a burn may be necessary. Vegetative buffers, the plantings will be done and may be done right now, but they were represented to be done in the spring. Approval from the county sewer district. We have a letter from the Saratoga County Sewer District indicating their approval of the hookup. The letter that I will attach to this letter directed to Ms. Bramer indicates that it says Town of Ballston, but it says Town of Malta, Dolomite, and I am waiting on a corrected letter, but it is clear that the approval is with regard to the Dolomite plant in the Town of Ballston. Complaint line. The finding statement requires Dolomite set up a complaint line. While the town and its board members and the employees will continue to receive complaints, it is necessary Dolomite receive complaints via this number, 518-374-2222. Without complaints going to that number, Dolomite will have no record of the complaints being made, and therefore those monthly complaints to the town will make no sense. They are to report and compile the complaints they receive and turn them over to the town. This will be part of our process when and if the occasional hours are requested by Dolomite. And lastly, our building department and I sat down with Dolomite and 4 representatives from Dolomite on March 5th, 2019. We reviewed and we emphasized the importance of compliance with the conditions of the finding statement and the consent order. It was made clear that Dolomite must comply with all items in the finding statement and the consent orders. The representative agreed, they understood, and that they communicated to us that they want to cooperate and want to be good citizens within the town of Ballston. And this letter, Claudia, will be sent out to you with the appropriate attachments.
So I'd like to commend both Ms. Bramer, the law firm here, on addressing, identifying these issues and questions from the citizens. Okay, appreciate that, and also appreciate the follow-up, Deb, for each and every one. Now, I talked to our building inspector, Brian, and emphasized the importance of enforcement. What we're not going to do is deal with what we did last fall and get continuous complaints, okay, about various issues last fall with some violations that were reported. And so the enforcement part here is absolutely key to this. And Brian had mentioned that they will in fact be strictly enforced. So I just wanted to pass that on too.
So will the complaint number be available on our town webpage?
We will, is it on there now, Carol? No, okay, yeah, we will make sure it's on there.
And also, I wanted to note that that is a direct number to Callahan Industries, and on the weekends, it will roll to someone's cell phone, so that will be
Is there
answered.
an email address or is it only the phone number?
I can provide you with emails that I have.
No, I mean,
The filing statements address a complaint line, not an issue.
So what I do, going back to my previous statement there, out of fairness to you, Ms. Kramer, why don't we, do you have any, you yourself have any other questions for Deb at this time? Anything that you didn't capture?
I think that captured everything in the letter.
Okay.
I would like to see the attachments that she was referencing, particularly the determination about the silos.
Okay.
That sounds like new information to me that I would like to have for my records and be able to review that.
Sure, okay.
The other comment that I have is that my understanding is the consent order did not change the requirement in the finding statement that they had to have the Zim Smith Trail improvements done prior to operating, which obviously they didn't have done in the fall when they started operating. And it's my position that they should not be allowed to operate in April until they have all of that completed.
Okay. All right, appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the next item here under old business, electric charging station. Just wanted to get the board's thoughts on that. As far as, we had a presentation here at our agenda meeting, and get your thoughts on whether you had a chance to look at that further.
I apologize for missing the agenda meeting that couldn't be helped. The electric charging station, the only question I have is, obviously it's charged, I mean, the electricity comes from the town's electric, okay?
Correct.
Do we charge a fee?
We have that option.
Because we get charged for the electricity, correct?
Right.
So we would need to charge a fee to recoup that.
Yes, and you can even make a slight profit if you want, you can charge 10% more or something like that.
That was the only question I had. I mean, I know I see them at Price Chopper, and I don't see a fee on them, so, I didn't know whether that was a possibility.
That is a possibility.
That's all.
Yep. Okay. What about the rest of the board?
I'd say that it's, my concern is that it's going to be another job for somebody here at Town Hall, so I think the idea is great. I think we just need to find.
It's my understanding, we're not responsible for the maintenance on it.
Yeah, but it's, I know, but it's, you gotta find a place, you gotta put it in, you gotta run the electric, you gotta install the whole thing.
Oh, yeah.
So did I hear you volunteering, Chuck?
No, you didn't.
So I'm all in favor of it, provided that we can find the bandwidth in the town to make it happen.
Right, yeah.
And that grant funding will, eventually dry up here, from what he was telling us, so.
Yep.
So I think it's a
Well,
good.
the bigger question is whether he had mentioned that it might be a mandate at some point.
Yeah.
And if it is, then it's gonna be,
It's just a grant while it's
take
while it's
advantage of that
available.
grant.
Yeah.
But I also heard, and I don't know, he did say that we could charge. I've heard from other people who've said you can't charge. And that's why when you go to Price Chopper, they aren't charging because you can't. So I don't know if that gentleman was 100% or who's accurate. It's just, I wouldn't like it if it is off of our bill and we're paying for it for the rest of our lives. So I like to charge him for it to break even, but if we can't charge, then
I mean, maybe it depends on the model of the unit, whether it counts it and how you charge, but I'd like more information on that.
I will offer for the municipality I work for, Dunn, Dutchess County, and sold one this year of their
public parking lot, and you do have to swipe a credit card to use it.
Okay.
Well, that'd be good.
I'm not sure what the rate structure is, but it's not free.
Right.
And I could see it becoming, like you said, a mandate that municipalities provide some sort of a public station somewhere, so if there's a grant available, you know, in favor of it, just get information on how it, and we have to kind of pay for it.
Okay, so I'll reach out to him and, tell him we're interested in moving forward. Okay. All right, next, sewer project update, Councilman Gaza?
Yeah, first of all, I don't know if we've announced this in public, but Kim Kukowski, who has project managed the sewer project for a number of years, is moving on to bigger and better things. So I would like to make that public. I'm looking to be rescued. I am the interim project manager, and there's a limited amount of time that I have per day to devote to a huge project such as that. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that as far as the project update is concerned, we are moving full speed ahead on the sewer project. We will be looking to rebid the project to reduce the cost. We are working with our town engineer, CT Mail, to go after a number of grants and grant opportunities. We will get a quote to the board. We have a quote for one of the grants, but we're working on the exact, went back to EFC with some feedback we got from CT Mail, and we got some additional grant opportunities from Jeanette that we're looking at. So we would expect to have that nailed down probably by the agenda meeting. So that's the update, and we look forward to trying to lower the cost and increase the grant funding that we have for the project. Our intent is not to change the formula that the project was originally adopted under, and not change the cost to the residents. So that's where we are with that. I would also like to announce that Catherine sent me a document on the modified Carpenter's Acres plan, which is a, we had quite a meeting here with folks in Carpenter's Acres. Some of them needed sewers badly. Some of those were just fine. And so we took the people who needed sewers badly. We looked at a way of incorporating that into a small district and bringing that line out to Route 50. Catherine has the costs. I would like to schedule some time at the agenda meeting later in the month and invite the Carpenter's Acres folks in and have Catherine review that with them. I think that it's a viable solution, and we will look at the board to provide some relief to those residents who have some severe sewer issues there in that section of Carpenter's Acres. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
And just quickly, I believe I responded to your email, Bill, after you were left, is if it could possibly not be the agenda meeting, I'm actually taking a vacation.
Okay.
A real vacation, so. I know. So possibly, if it could be scheduled out.
Yeah, we'll go with the first one in May. That'll be fine. But let's see if we can nail that down. In the meantime, we can get the report out to the public and to the people in Carpenter's Acres, and we're certainly excited to discuss this, and the board can certainly make a determination once they've seen the report. So thank you for that.
Letting those, thanks. It's not on the calendar here, but Catherine, you want to talk about the water project bid results?
Sure. For the water meter replacement project, bids were opened on March 28th. And a sign of the time in public bidding, we had 10 plan holders and 1 bidder. I did review the bid, and the bid was quite satisfactory. It was within our budget. Their bid price was about $503,000. We had estimated about $550,000. This particular contractor really does this across the eastern and northern United States. They're based out of Kentucky. They're called Vanguard Utility Service. I did spend a good hour on the phone with a gentleman from the city of Norwich, Connecticut, who has used Vanguard for 5 years now and is nearing replacing almost 20,000 meters within the city, water, electric, and gas. One of the positives of this particular company is that this is their business. One of the items that was critical to the town when we prepared this bid document was that the contractor would deal with all of the public coordination. This particular company has software, has a 24-hour call center to do that. So you're not talking about contacting the local plumber who might be in the field all day to try to schedule an appointment. They actually have software where they take all of the information and it's electronically transferred back to the town. So when a replacement is done, there's a picture of the old meter with the reading, and it's automatically transferred to the software that is working through an upgrade. The big concern we had with this project was, will this require additional resources by town staff who are already overtaxed? So again, in speaking to the company itself and calling on the references, I feel that even though the bidding environment right now, generally in municipal projects, that's what I specialize in, isn't the most favorable, that the bid the town received was a good price, and is with a reputable contractor. And I provided the copies of the bid itself, their explanation of how they do business is all provided to the town board. Were there any specific questions that the town board members had about this company?
I don't have any. I think it's gonna work out great. Anybody, anything else?
And they did indicate that depending on the award date, which hopefully will be at the agenda meeting, given the timeframes in the bids, that they are excited to possibly look at an end of September completion date because of the credit we're offering. So again, the quicker the meters are replaced, the quicker the revenue comes in. Right now, the town is losing revenue with under-reading meters, so I was excited to hear that they are willing to complete this work in quite a short time frame.
Which is a big help.
You said they're out of, where were they out of?
They're out of Kentucky.
But they've worked in Connecticut?
Yes.
They've worked in,
Yep, all their information is available online, it's in their bid. Again, that is a question that, I understand is a concern when you work for municipalities, not have your local contractor and you're used to bidding on projects. However, this is not necessarily a project that your standard plumber who might be able to do 100-meter replacements is going to be able to tackle. It is a lot of administrative work to coordinate 1,700-meter replacements. They have 8 staff that are employed in their call center. They have a 2-hour requirement outside business hours to get back to a customer with any issues. And I say a customer, I mean it's a member of the public calling to schedule their meter replacement. That's invaluable to the town, to not have to worry that, X contractor isn't, working with the public well to get that equipment, that time to replace the equipment scheduled.
Great, extremely important. Okay, thanks, appreciate that update. Next, just a quick update with the zoning. We've had 2 public hearings in the zoning. We've received several written comments from that second public hearing, and it's still a work in progress that we're trying to finalize here. And I know Catherine, during transition here with Sophia Maruso, our senior planner, who has left us, Catherine's going to pick up that endeavor and help us out with that. So again, that's still a work in progress, and no specific date here for the official board vote. So more to come on that, because again, we did receive quite a few comments on that. New business, and I'm only going to actually talk about one, because Chuck already talked about the maintenance position, and Fireman's Grove, we talked about that in depth here tonight. So I'm excited to announce that both Brian, throughout the building inspector, and myself, interviewed a new candidate here for town planner slash stormwater management officer. And she's with us here this evening, Delia Garcia, you want to stand there? So appreciate you coming on board with us, and highly recommended here from some folks at the county and the town of Malta. So we're looking forward to you starting. Matter of fact, going on here tonight for starting tomorrow. So everything will work out fine. So welcome. And at this time, we'll go to the privilege of the floor. And this first privilege of the floor is for any specific resolution here this evening. And so just identify the actual resolution number and state your name and your address. Come up to the mic here so the town clerk can hear loud and clear. Just a quick overview of the Courthouse rules here. And you'll have 5 minutes to speak. And if you have more to talk about after 5 minutes, we'll receive written comments. No foul language, swearing or cursing. Be no insulting or offensive remarks. Please do not repeat already expressed comments. And there will be no back and forth between the public and the town board. So at this time, is there anybody that wishes to speak here this evening on any specific resolution here this evening? Keller.
Ellie Jasinski, 150 Middle Line Road. There's a lot going on tonight.
Yes, there is.
A lot of good stuff going on too. I want to speak on resolution 19-76. In Valley, please, I don't know you, so this has nothing, please don't take it.
There's not a 76.
19-76.
Oh, I'm sorry, I had the wrong one.
Okay, there's another page, I know, there's
Yeah.
3 pages today too, so that's why there really is a lot going on. I don't, is Catherine going to be taking over the whole zoning process? I just want to make sure, I feel like our last senior planner was kind of put into a no-win situation. There was a lot, there was a process already going on, and she came in not with a lot of experience, and that was a big bite to have to take on, and probably cause a lot of stress in a lot of places.
So the answer to that question, again, not to get back and forth there, but the answer is yes, Catherine can
Okay.
take that on.
So I just wanted to make sure that, I'm not so sure, I went through and read about the test requirements for a senior town planner and then also a deputy planner. And I look at what our town needs as a planner, and I don't think we really need a senior planner. I think we need a stormwater management person with somebody that maybe does what a deputy planner does and helps come up with information to help the rest of us make a lot of decisions at this point. I think a lot of our bigger projects are better sourced to somebody with a lot of experience like Catherine or like an outside individual. And I just would like to throw that out to you. So,
And I'm in agreement with that, yes, we're
and that's,
absolutely.
how I feel, so, so thank you.
Thanks, appreciate that. Anyone else? Okay. Solberg.
I was waiting for everybody else. So I am coming into this knowing half of it, so excuse me for not knowing the legal jargon, but my understanding is that the CATS PUD is still under litigation and has not gone through with Ag and Markets, so that's in regards to the water. And also I understand that the business district that the PUD is focused on, which is the apartments, is still in Ag District. So there's some ambiguity as to the water district and whether it's in the highway district, which is a zoning, but it's also in the Ag District, which would include it in that litigation. So I'm a bit concerned about whether a decision about the CATS PUD is going to impact the town in making a decision about moving ahead with a project that is still in litigation. So I'm hoping that the town's attorney has evaluated that appropriately and that we're not putting ourselves at risk of doing actions that are contrary to that litigation. So, and then I was going to talk about the zone, the planner, but Kelly got me first, so thank
Okay,
you.
all right, thanks. Anyone else on any resolution? Okay. Get into the actual resolutions here this evening. 19-58, consider reappointing Library Board of Trustee Susan Tomlinson for a term commencing July 1st, 2018 and ending June 30th, 2023. Okay, Councilwoman Stewart, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Councilman Toski, further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carried. 19-59, consider reappointing Library Board of Trustee Michelle Hernandez for a term commencing July 1, 2018 and ending June 30th, 2023. Councilman Stewart?
Second.
Okay, Councilman Toski, further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. 19-60, consider approving the town board meeting summer schedule as follows. Thursday, June 27th, 2019, Tuesday, July 30th, 2019, and Tuesday, August 27th, 2019. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Goslin, Chuck, you want to second that?
Yep.
Further discussion?
The Thursday, what was the Tuesday, wasn't good for?
Well, that's, there's a primary election
Oh,
on the
okay.
25th, so,
Right.
yeah, so
Okay.
we move that to the 27th. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carried. 19-61, consider approving the New York State Retirement Standard Work Date and reporting for 2019. The clerk has advised me that there were no submitted changes. Is there a motion? Councilman Goslin, is there a second? Councilman Toski, further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Against? Motion carries. 19-62, consider reaffirming the negative declaration under seeker which was previously issued for this action for the amended CATS PUDD proposed local law 1 of 2019, in which action the town board has acted as lead agency. So we're gonna, is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Goslin, is there a second? Second. Okay, Kelly, further discussion? And I'm gonna ask the clerk to take the roll call.
Councilman Curtis?
No.
Councilman Goslin?
Yes.
Councilman Antosky?
This is for the negative declaration of seeker, correct? This
Yes.
isn't for the approval of the local. Okay, in favor.
Councilwoman Stewart? Yes. And Supervisor Sapanic?
Yes. Okay, motion passes 4-1. 19-63, consider approving local law 1 of 2019, amendment to the CATS PUDD.
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Goslin, is there a second? Second. Councilwoman Stewart, further discussion?
Yes. I would just like the attorney to comment on the legality of what we're doing here and make sure that the board is, or she's comfortable with the board action.
Yes, Bill, this amendment moved certain buildings around and up towards the front where water is available and is not part of the litigation.
Great. Thank you for that. I would like to just make a couple other comments here. First comment is that this is according to our proposed zoning, which I know a lot of people in the audience are not in favor of. We have asked developers to only develop on Route 50. I guess if they're opposed to the legislation that we're passing, they would like this anywhere in town. I think this is where we've asked them to do it. I believe the apartments are not directly on Route 50. Most of them are off behind some other buildings, so this is not direct Route 50 frontage. I would also note that our new legislation reduces the three-story possibility to 2 stories, and we seem to have a struggle passing those things. I don't think there's any place for 3-story apartment buildings in the hamlet of Burnt Hills, and that is in that legislation that we're trying to pass that keeps getting derailed. If you folks remember, the Katz PUD originally had a 3-story building in. I asked Mr. Katz voluntarily to remove a story, and he did, at great expense to him, both in future revenue and the cost to re-engineer that. So I believe that Mr. Katz has done what the town board has asked him, both formally and informally. And I also believe that that this litigation is his concern, not the town's board's concern, okay? And I fully support this project, and I would like, and I urge its passage by the board.
Any other discussion?
Just for clarification, the change would allow for residential on that commercial frontage, correct? Is that what the change was, to allow for, there's commercial on the bottom and residential still on the top, correct?
Yes,
And was that a change from the original plan?
just the buildings, just the location of the buildings, no difference in density, no difference in mix, no difference in anything, so.
But originally, that was zoned, that frontage was zoned commercial, strictly commercial, correct?
No, it's zoned as a PUD.
No, well, prior to a PUDD, it was originally zoned as commercial.
Yeah, Route 50
Okay.
something, which is not necessarily commercial, but Route 50, whatever it's called.
Commercial.
I think it's commercial.
Okay.
Business highway.
Okay.
Business highway, there's the
All right,
term, thank you.
okay.
This is still, as far as Ag and Markets is concerned, this whole litigation, this is still in as one project, correct? One application? For the right understanding of this, the original determination and order was based on this entire project, is that correct?
Talk to the attorney, we'll talk to them.
My understanding is that the movement of the buildings allows water that is not part of the ag district to be available to this area.
So just to clarify, the first 500 feet of the parcel were prior to the PUDD in the business highway zone. That first 500 feet was always in the water district. So when the water district extension was filed, it was for the rear of the parcel. So, you know, he would have permission to connect to the water for that first 500 feet. So all that they're asking in light of a litigation is for a few of the buildings to be shifted so that they're fully within that 500 let's say swath that are currently permitted and were always permitted since 1998 when the water went through to connect the water under Route 50. This isn't a change to the density or the use, it's simply to, my understanding when Mr. Katz presented it, and you know, himself or his counsel may, change my statement, is that he would like to develop what he can legally develop now in light of the litigation, which could go on for a while. But again, 1998, that water district was established, and that first 500 feet of the parcel was in the district at that time. That is not being contested by Ag Markets.
It's the extension, it's the
Right,
extension.
right, I understand that part, I'm just, my question is this one application or two? Are we talking, was it originally one application or two? This is where I'm confused.
It's amendment to a PUD.
Okay. Okay, then it is one.
Right.
That's all I'm looking for, is clarity.
Right, it's amendment to a PUD.
And the PUDD was approved after the 1998
Well,
contract.
after.
Correct, okay.
Okay, any further discussion? Ask the clerk to take a roll call.
Councilman Curtis,
I'll agree, yes.
Councilman Goslin,
Yes.
Councilman Natowski,
Not in favor.
Councilwoman Stewart. Yes. Supervisor Stanek.
Yes. Resolution passes 4-1. 19-64, consider proclaiming April 2019 as Donate Life Month. That's to deal with organ donation.
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Goslin, is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Toski, for discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. 19-65, consider proclaiming April 7th to 13th, 2019 as National Crime Victims' Rights Week, 2019 theme, honoring our past, creating hope for the future. Is there a motion? Councilman Goslin, is there a second? Councilwoman Stewart, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. 19-66, approved dog control officer Tom Shambo to attend the annual dog control officers conference on May 15th and 16th at Guilderland Town Hall at a cost of $50 and a reimbursement of reasonable expenses approved prior by the supervisor.
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Goslin, is there a second?
Yeah.
Second.
Councilman Toski, further discussion? Discussion?
I say that's a hell of a deal, you know, we ought to get that for our building department,
Yeah,
you know, so.
All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. 19-67, consider approving the VHBL BPA to hold a Flag Day Parade on June 13th, 2019, and obtain all required permits from New York State Department of Transportation.
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Goslin, is there a second? Councilwoman Stewart, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. 19-68, consider approving town's donation of $2,500 to the VHBL BPA for the Flag Day Parade on June 13th, 2019. Okay, Councilwoman Stewart, is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Goslin, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. 19-69, consider approving the request for the use of a highway truck for the cleanup of the town roadways on Saturday, May 4th, 2019.
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Goslin, is there a second? I'll second that. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. 19-70, consider approving the formation of the 1780-2020 Rate on Ballston Committee and the appointment of the following members. Chairman Rick Reynolds, Michelle Arthur, Ann Clothier, Paul Novotny, Jim Richmond, Karen Salters, and Paul Suppley. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Goslin, is there a second? Councilman Stewart. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. 19-71, consider hiring Rob Guthorn as a facilities maintenance employee for 20 hours per week at a rate of $20 per hour effective immediately, with potential to increase to no more than $25 an hour based on a 3-month performance to be evaluated by Councilman Curtis. Is there a motion?
So.
Okay,
I'll
check on that. You second that, Bill?
Yep.
Further discussion?
I'd just like to add that, yeah, I interviewed this gentleman, he is right local, he's just over here in Fuel Heights, and, he did indicate to me that he'd be very available, you know, during storm days, et cetera, he understands the whole situation. And I prefer to go to a 3-month performance evaluation rather than let it go up to 6. If it's not working, we can.
No, that's normal.
I think
that's
that's,
standard.
Yep, that makes sense.
I just think that's, but, he seems quite capable of working through things, we actually did have a chance to talk to Joe.
Yeah, and he had a chance to work with our former maintenance.
And he's been
Worker,
a shadow
Ralph.
with Ralph for
Yeah, which is good, so,
Yep.
again, I appreciate your efforts on that.
Yeah, he seems quite capable.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. 19-72, consider approving the payment of $9,000 to the Burnt Hills Ballston Lake Summer Rec Program.
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Goddard, is there a second? Okay, Councilman Stewart, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. 19-73, consider hiring Charity Shalito as the new page in the library. Now, is that effective immediately?
Charity, yes.
Oh, okay, effective immediately, okay. Effective
So
immediately.
moved.
Okay. Councilman Goslin and John, you second that? Okay. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. 19-74, consider hiring Edison Roberts as a page in the library, and what is that gonna be?
That is.
At the date provided by the library.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I like that.
It's, I have a calendar, but it's April, it's this month, it's either the 16th or the 23rd, it's a Tuesday, I just can't remember my weeks.
Oh, we'll do effective early as 4/16. So yeah, we'll put that.
Oh, wait.
Get on the other page.
22nd, April 22nd.
April 22nd. Okay?
22nd.
Is there a motion? Okay.
Second.
Ellie, Bill, second. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. 19-75, consider approving the proposal for Apollo's Lawn Services Incorporated to mow the field at Fireman's Grove for $150 per week and to fill ruts with topsoil and grass seed at a cost of $520.
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Goslin, is there a second? Councilwoman Stewart, further discussion?
Is that 150 every week, or is it like as needed, or?
It'll be needed every week.
Yeah, I think it's, that
so
grows
really-
pretty well down there.
If they can do the, till the ruts and provide grass seed for that grass over there, $520 is a bargain.
Yeah, now the only thing that.
Just a general amount, really, we could have done, right?
Right.
Because we're gonna pay them, like, 3 months or whatever.
Right. So the only thing that I had asked Councilwoman Stewart on is I want to make sure our attorney takes a look at this also with the actual contract. You know, I want to make sure that, you know, if we do have an opportunity here, you know, to get a lot of things done in that park so have a clause in that contract, and it's called a contract, so we're not, you know, we have like maybe an opt-out clause with this new maintenance individual that we've been talking about, and oversight of the park and all that. So that's the only thing that I'd like to ask, that we have, you know, a potential opt-out.
Yeah, they're gonna have to at least work together from time to time as well.
So,
Yeah.
right, you know, if we move in that direction, you know.
Tim, I'm sure there's an existing contract with Jenkins that we can probably just
Yeah, there is,
modify, so.
yeah, yep. So, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. 19-76, consider hiring Delia Garcia as a provisional full-time town planner / stormwater management officer with a salary of $48,000 effective April 10th, 2019, which is tomorrow.
So moved.
Okay, Councilman Goslin, is there a second? Second. Okay, Councilman Stewart, further discussion?
Yes, I would like to just comment on some of the letters and stuff that we've received on this. The whole department, the building department, the planning department, stormwater, code enforcement, fire inspector, everybody in that group is wearing multiple hats. And there used to be a gentleman in there, you know, Tom Johnson, that wore many hats, and he worked here forever and ever and ever. And we've just started to be able to move forward with the hire of 2 building inspectors and to start catching up on our fire inspections. And we have zoning, we have huge requirements for stormwater. So we can't move back in that department. I appreciate the people who suggest we can hire CT Mail. And with all due respect,
It's by the price.
I have signed a lot of CT Mail invoices, and I'm going to tell you that for the cost of $48,000, you're not going to get the same hourly rate is what I'm saying. So I believe that this will help us share the load between the many hats that group has to handle, and I think we as a town are a growing town. I am against hiring full-time people on a general basis, but we can't move back in that department. We have to provide the services that our residents expect, and we also have to provide the services that are required by state law, and we just can't move back there. So I fully support this, and I welcome you to the town of Ballston.
And additionally with that, Delia and also the county HR folks have informed me that she'll be taking the exams come up in June, so for the certification. So look forward to that. And like I said, you come and work for town of Ballston. So okay, is there? Okay, I guess we're already did the motion in a second. All in favor? Motion carries.
Yeah, and I would like to also offer the services of the board. If at any time you feel that you have an issue and you need the board's support, or you need the board's counsel, or you need a decision made by the board, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We want to work together. You are in the public eye. We want to help you with that, and we want to support you. So thank you very much for coming.
Okay, Councilman Andowski, you want to offer the resolution 19-77?
1977, consider approving setting aside an amount not to exceed $5,000 from fund balance for the possible payment of the completion of sidewalk to complete the segment between the intersection of Kings and Route 50.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Councilman Goslin and Councilman Stewart, further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Against? Motion carries. There'll be no executive session tonight unless a board member has a reason to. So now we'll go back to privilege of the floor here this evening on any topic whatsoever. Come on up and name, address, and comments.
Kelly Jasinski, 150 Middle Line Road, and I follow the rules. So first, just a little bit FPPC news. The growers, makers brochure is moving ahead full steam. Joanne Kibo and I have been meeting since she got back from Florida, and it's going to be submitted to a publicist soon, and we hope to have it out for the Flag Day Parade. So really, really happy about it. We have about 40 applicants. We've actually had to turn a few down because they didn't meet the criteria. So it should be actually kind of looking at it as a town document. It's kind of where we are right now with people that make their own things and grow their own things in our town. So very, very proud of that. One other thing, hopefully Scott doesn't mind me talking about this one also, is that we have the fourth grade at Charlton Heights is going to be participating in the pumpkin project. So I'll be going there to give them a demonstration and distributing. They each get 3 pumpkin seeds, all kind of mixed out or whatever. And they're going to have their little a little contest in October when they come back as 5th graders to see different categories, including cooked seeds, cooked pumpkin, decorated pumpkin, biggest pumpkin. And we're actually probably going to be doing this townwide in October. We're looking to open it up to the public via the parade. So that's the good news.
I caught Kelly coming out of the county there the other day for the Master Gardener class.
Master Gardener class.
Yes, you're doing a good job.
I'm not as good as these guys yet, but I'm trying. So something else I wanted to talk about that's a lot more serious to me. 3 years ago when I first started coming here, it was brought up that we needed a moratorium. And we had a lot of increasing pressure of multiple units being built in our town at that time. And we really all felt, well, some of us felt, I didn't really feel that way, but many of us felt that it would be solved through getting the zoning done. And I think we expected the zoning to be done in 1.5 years, which would have been 1.5 years ago. And it's not. And we realized, all of us realized that the zoning package has to be right. But if we can't have a moratorium, can't we do, I know Malta's done this, can't we put a limit for right now on multiple unit dwelling? We need to save our Route 50 corridor for economic development. And I don't think we have time to wait for that. That needs to happen. That needs to be a priority of this board before you break for summer. I'm just requesting that, sorry. Just because, when summer comes, we know we meet once a month, we got other things going on. And I don't see anything big PUD being put on the plate right now. I think we're kind of at a lull where you can't get caught by somebody saying, hey, I'm already trying to submit this right now. I think now's a good time to do something with that one piece of the puzzle.
I agree. I think that's a great idea.
So, thank you. Thank you. And then I would just like to make one other point that just seemed odd to me with the
Now
whole
back and forth.
with the whole discussion on the CATS project. So what I want to know is if it's okay for him to go ahead with the first 500 feet now, adding more apartment units on the front part. Why couldn't he have done that before? Why did he have to increase the density to do it? Why couldn't he have just kept it?
He's right there in the second row.
But I just don't know, I don't understand why that needed to be done. He's, you know.
Yeah, we don't wanna get into a.
So, and I won't, just a thought. All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Mark Katz, he's
Dr.
right next
Dr.
door there, you can solve it.
Dave Pierce, 110 Lake Road. Has there been a public health officer appointed yet for him?
No.
Okay, that's one question. Another question is, I'm very concerned as to what was agreed to for the fire access road to Dolomite. And I attended all the meetings that Dolomite had, and I've been coming to all these meetings for 10 years now. And when that was discussed, they wanted a fire access road back to the plant. But this fire access road that was approved just comes behind the pipe company. I mean, it comes off of East Line Road, comes behind the pipe company right to the entrance to the Curtis Industrial Park Road, right near the Zoom Smith Trail. And that's where it enters, and then they take a common road back to the plant. So if there's a fire back at the plant, it's not gonna accomplish what you need to accomplish for a secondary fire access road. So I don't know how that ever got approved, and maybe that's part of the litigation or something like that, but I think the town is remiss in the fact that there's not a real fire access road in that plant. And if there's a fire back there, I hope there's not.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Brandon.
Thank you. For the record, Claudia Bramer, attorney for Citizens for a Clean Environment. And I have been representing this group since Dolomite first came to the zoning board in the summer of 2011. So this summer it's going to be 8 years since that application first came before the ZBA and the PBA. Planning board. Sorry. I came here in November after we learned that Dolomite started operating, and we were asking you to hold Dolomite to the conditions of the planning board's approval. And I did have some conversations with the town attorney over the winter time, and I really appreciate your willingness to meet with me and discuss this with me. But ultimately, it's the town board's responsibility to hold Dolomite to the conditions of the planning board. And the planning board's approval, I brought it up with me, this is double-sided, but this packet of information is the planning board's approval with all of the conditions that they put on the approval of the asphalt plant, because they very seriously considered the concerns of the residents at that time. There were all kinds of issues related to traffic, noise, air pollution, the visual impacts from the silos, as well as the safety of the public, not only from fires at the plant, but also people using the Zim Smith Trail. So I greatly appreciate you taking seriously the concerns that I wrote in my letter, and I look forward to seeing the letter back from the town attorney, especially with the attachments. And I would also ask that you provide me with the DOT's updated engineering plans for Route 67, as well as the Zim Smith Trail. And if I need to foil for that, I can do that as well. I won't go into all of the points in my letter because they were addressed tonight by the town attorney, and I do appreciate that. One of the things, though, that I want to talk about specifically is the silos. When they came to the ZBA in 2011, and I actually have their application materials here, they sought a variance from the 40-foot height restriction in the industrial zone. And I'm quoting, "The applicant is seeking relief to allow a small portion of the building to be constructed at a 70-foot height. This portion of the building contains the bucket elevator, batch tower, pug mill, conveyor belt, and storage silo." Clearly, there was already a determination that the silo needed to have a height variance if they wanted it to be 70 feet high. Ultimately, they withdrew their application for a height variance from the ZBA because they knew that there was a lot of public opposition to anything over 40 feet. And the planning board did not approve a silo or any parts of the building to be over 70 feet high. In my letter, I noted that there was no approval or environmental review by the planning board for 70-foot tall silos. The planning board is empowered to review the appearance and design of buildings and structures, including but not limited to architectural features, building materials, and colors. A structure is defined as any combination of materials to form a construction that is safe and stable. And it includes things like platforms, radio towers, storage bins, etc. The construction of the silos involved here included ground excavation and substantial concrete foundation. They hold 200 tons of material straight down on a 20-foot radius. If this is not a structure, I'm not sure what is. And what we are asking for is that you either require Dolomite to take them down if they're so affordable, or require them to get planning board approval, a supplemental EIS for the silos, and a variance from the ZBA. Now, I understand that you're probably having some hesitation about this, given Dolomite's lawsuits, multiple, against the town board and individual members of the town board. I completely understand that. But you've been elected to represent this town and to stand up for its residents. So we're asking you to hold Dolomite to all of the conditions of the planning board's prior approval, and the residents will stand behind you. So we're asking you to not allow Dolomite to begin operating this spring until it has met all of the conditions of the planning board approval, and that it take down those silos or get the variances. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Rossi.
Frank Rossi Jr., 1 Constitution Courthouse, New York, on behalf of the Rossi family. Bill, Tim, thank you for the kind words. Pass them on to our parents. We ran into the senior Mr. Rossi, not the junior Mr. Rossi, this weekend.
We try to avoid them, but, you know, I'm like,
Yeah, great job. Thanks to us. I get more phone calls. Where are you? Why aren't you talking to me? I love my father, I love my mother, and what they've gone through over, you want to talk about 2011, talk about 2003, having to be on a project or a piece of land for that long without resolution or with troubles. It's daunting, to say the least. While I respect Kelly and there's mutual respect over the years, different topics and whatnot, the one thing I'm going to be a stickler on is the Sophia situation from last month and how she was treated by this town was abomination, to say the least. I think you have to go through the development process sometimes to understand what her role was and how good she was at it. The comment letter that Hannaford was issued was the longest comment letter that we've had in our, or at least my 8 years of involvement, or 7 years of involvement. It questioned many different aspects based on the zoning and the rules, right, between design and setbacks and everything else, the PUD legislation. She did, to use the expression, a kick-ass job at her job in that situation. It was probably about 4 times as long as the comment letter that Catherine had put in concerning the stuff that she's responsible for at that point in time. But as Bill brings up, what is an hourly cost to anybody that wants to do a development or a house or whatever it is ultimately. And it's not just a, rich developer, blah, blah, blah. It's any individual that wants to do anything here, and to be able to make sure that developing something in this town is achievable. Her role was important in that respect, and she did a great job. This town owes her an apology for how she was treated here, and I'm sorry to see her go. Dahlia, welcome. I'm sure you're going to do a tremendous job. You have some big shoes to fill in that respect. Look forward to working with you. I think this town suffered a great loss in that situation, and I hope that we all kind of take a lesson from what happened a month ago, because it was ugly. It was really a mar to this town's image as far as I'm concerned. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anyone else this evening?
Steve Walsh, 338 Kingsley Road. I'm addressing Supervisor Stepanek and the heroin incident. We've had our corner, Kingsley Corner, we've had occasion to call the sheriff a few times. I'd like to work with the sheriff's department if we could and eliminate the drug dealing out of the corridor in the back of our parking lot. We've had, cars parked, and we always learn 1 or 2 days after the fact. There's not much the sheriff can do at that point. We called the sheriff's department, they said they'd increase, patrols. But as the sheriff is formulating a plan, I think the corridor from Route 50 to the school, especially our parking lot, since we've known it to exist, I'd like to see, or be involved in whatever I can do.
Yeah, I think that's a great comment, and, two things here. One thing you may want to consider is, neighborhood watch group, establishing that.
We have tenants that watch, and then they don't ever do anything.
Okay.
It's like 2 or 3 days later.
Yeah.
So,
And then the second thing is, the Sheriff's Department just had 18 new recruits. Matter of fact, they graduated from the academy, they've gone through their training, and they're on the road effective here this week. So 18 new deputies, which is outstanding. So I think that'll help also.
yeah, I don't know if because it's private property, they can't pull through the parking lot or whatever, but that would probably help.
There's issues, they.
Because back in the corner, back by Arnold's Hardware, it's kind of dead space and dark and stuff.
Like I said, he has a plan
Yeah.
that I don't want to, reveal here because.
Yeah, I understand that, but I'd like you to
It's a good plan.
call him and add to it if you can.
Yeah, absolutely, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Yep, sure. Thanks. No, anything, yep, come on up.
There, Stacy Simmons, 830 State Route 67. I live directly across the street from the entry to the industrial park. I just want to ask a quick question. First of all, will the approved Saturdays for Dolomite to operate be posted somewhere? Because I am one of the first people to see it when I look out my kitchen window, so I wanted to know that. And I just wanted to share that I'm having some really major trust issues. I feel like our town is being taken advantage of, and for the reasons that have already been discussed, the fact that they're so big, and that they've already done whatever they've done to scare you guys. So I just wanted to let you know I support you, and I will be taking pictures and sending them again to you, Tim, to you, Chuck. Brian, I haven't seen you since high school, but I think we're going to become buddies. So I just wanted to share that. And if the Saturdays are not posted anywhere, my apologies, but 6 o'clock in the morning, if there are smokestacks, your phones will be going off. Because I just have a problem with that. I also work next door at Brookside Nursery. I'm out in the open with our retail employees on a daily basis. So we're already going to have to deal with this 5 days a week. We don't need to deal with asphalt a 6th day. I've already had employees come to me in the fall on those operational days that they shouldn't have been operating with headaches. So I just wanted to share that, let you know that that's happening. And my last thing is, I'm really getting tired of sharing my ice packs with people having problems on the road, like accidents. How is that? Just the other day, there was a 3-car accident. There were 3 days of accidents in front. How is that going to be? How are we working on that? Are you guys working with DOT on that? And how am I getting out of my driveway with a turning lane there? I don't even know if the planning board thought about this. Nobody came to the driveway that I go in and out of and sat there and said, wow, turning lane, how is this person getting out of here safely? I am now going to have to wait for somebody turning into the industrial park, as well as people zipping by. They already try to do that on the shoulder, as well as people zipping on the other side. I don't know, I need some help on this. So let me throw it out to you. I'm going to throw it out to the DOT also. Don't think I'm pegging anybody. I love Ballston spot. I love this town. Always have. Grew up here. But I think it's a bad part of the road. There's been a death there that I had to go out and talk to the sheriff for in the middle of the night. There have been multiple accidents where people were smacked into their vehicles. There was a vehicle flipped the other day. it's a bad spot, and we're adding to it. So, I'm probably here a day late, but I just want to let you know, this is where I'm coming from, and again, pictures, emails, texting, whatever, if that's your, I'm gonna be in touch, so, thank you.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Anyone else this evening? Okay, is there a motion to adjourn? So. Okay, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thanks, folks. Oh, see you what? Okay, Bill.